Hello, hello. Good morning, traders. How are we doing today? I hope you guys are all doing well. It is Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 30 minutes before the bell. We just got PPI numbers, half hour ago? And clearly the market was okay with them. My name is Jason Krutzky. It's a great pleasure to be with you. How are you guys doing today? How did you end up faring yesterday? Things were looking so nice, and then we got off of our live stream and the market just kind of crumbled below our feet. Somebody who was here yesterday hanging out in the crowd told us to throw a fib on the initial move. And so we did that. We were kind of keeping an eye on things. This is just the NQ chart. And I thought it was kind of interesting how things ended up playing out, specifically to the downside where we caught a bid at the 1.618 extension of the move. And now we're coming back up into the low from the start of the move. And also yesterday we were talking about anchored VWAPs, where to anchor them from. There's a common question that we get, where to anchor a VWAP from. Well, it makes a lot of sense to anchor a VWAP from the CPI data print, right? You had a ton of volume come in, big move. That's a good spot to anchor from. And now we're coming right up into the anchored VWAP from the move. So got a keen eye on that 13,052 spot, somewhere thereabouts. How are you guys doing today? There's a few of you here. It's a pretty chill morning. Where are you tuning in from? What's your name? Say hello. I'd like to get to know you a little bit. And tell me how you did yesterday. Did you end up trading in the right direction? Did you get bit? Did you get hit? How'd you do? I'm curious to know. Did anybody who was in the show or who was in the live stream yesterday, if any of you guys were here yesterday, did any of y'all happen to tune in to the Twitter space yesterday that we held after the show? What's up? Why not from Cali? How you doing? How's California looking today? Basant subs on the sidelines yesterday. That is not an unwise position to take. Good for you for being able to hang out on the sidelines and watch things develop. It's harder to do than it sounds like. From New York, right on. How's New York looking today? I know that spring has been springing there. And you got NFT NYC in the house. Are you taking in any of the JPEGs this week? If there is anybody here who has never been to one of these live streams or has never tuned in for a live stream but happened to show up because I mentioned it yesterday in the Twitter space, thank you for doing so. If you didn't get a chance to listen to the Twitter space yesterday, I'm going to give you guys a link. Give me 1 second and I will find it. Because, man, it was a really good one. We had a ton of great opinions and just smart guys, just like a smart group of folks. Let me share this tweet with you. Just a really smart group of folks, guys and gals. Here you go. If you're hanging out today watching markets and need some perspective or looking for some alternative viewpoints on how things are looking, where things are headed, I do really strongly recommend that space. It was only about an hour, so pretty short, and just a lot of great opinions on kind of how to be thinking about things. One of our guests that we have on often, a fellow by the name of Caleb Franzen, I'll share this fella. This dude is super smart, and he had probably my favorite perspective of the day. And, kind of regardless of where the markets were going when we were talking, because they were kind of careening lower at that time. He said, the real thing that we should be looking at is inflation is cooling off. And really, that's what we're after, right? We're looking for inflation cooling. And that's just exactly what we got. So, the day to day of the market fluctuations maybe isn't the thing to be focused on, but more so the thing to be focused on is that all the measures that are being taken that we're kind of fighting against. Oh, you know what? It's playing in the background. Gotta turn that off. Everything we're fighting against is starting to we're kind of starting to see the fruits of that, right? Everything that the Fed is doing. And I think that's important. It's an important perspective that I have not heard from anybody, and he was the only one that really brought that perspective. So I think it's important to keep that in mind, keep that in the back of your mind. At the end of the day, right? So I've only heard from two of you. There's more than two of you here. For the folks that I have not yet heard from, how are you guys doing today? Where are you tuning in from? Say hello in chat. What do you guys want to look at today? Are there any particular tickers that you're watching? Do you guys have a plan for today? Kind of where your head's at on where you think the market might be headed? While I await hearing from you guys, the thing that really kind of piqued my interest was that we finally gave up the level that we've been trying to hold. It's relative on different tickers, but even on NQ here, you could argue a couple of different levels, but like this 12,985 spot seemed pretty important. They'd come in and held it back April 6th. They held it April 10th, and they initially tried to hold it on the down move yesterday, and then they finally gave it up. So this to me maybe is a warning shot of sorts. This to me kind of tells me that there's a potential for further downside. They're really going to have to go up and gain. In my opinion, they're going to have to go up and gain some new highs in order to not take this thing lower. But kind of where my head's at on that. Go to the ES futures. ES futures looks a little bit different. They weren't able to take out those lows. They actually made a higher low, which is pretty interesting too. Kind of suggesting that there's potential for a continuation higher. If we look at RTY, yeah, totally different look on RTY, huh? Relative to those April 6th, April 10th lows, nowhere near them. So NQ took out these lows. RTY held the highs of that range almost to like the penny, huh? And then ES just made a new a slight new high, a slight higher high. So really a change of tone there relative to what we've been seeing over the past couple of months. But what are you guys looking at? There's a bunch of y'all here now. Say hello. I'm still waiting. I just want you guys to say hello to me. What do you want to look at? What are you thinking about? Are there any tickers that you're trading? Anything you want to take a closer look at here in TrendSpider? What's up, NS? How's it going, man? Hope you're good. Where are you tuning in from? What are you trading today? What are your thoughts on the market? Just going to zoom through a few big tickers, kind of see where we're at here. Yeah, so this seems pretty like an interesting spot, pretty important on Apple. This bad boy right here. And then these previous highs, also going to be important. Let's see what the Qs did yesterday. So yeah, the Qs trying to hold, they did make that new low relative to, what, April 6th. They're trying to hold it. Be interesting to see what they end up doing here. Anchor VWAP to that gap up. My guess is there's not a ton of volume here. Just turning on volume by price. I'm going to scoot it over here. So if they are able to bounce this and continue higher, these might be some spots that we might be interested in keeping our eye on. This area here between the VWAP and the POC. There's a bit of a untested fair value gap right here. So if they are able to bounce it, maybe look and see what they do at around 315.5 or so on the Qs here. Might be important. Check out the SPY. Same kind of deal, huh? But price is quite a bit closer to that POC level. Holding at the VWAP pretty much from that gap down, or that gap up rather. I guess there's been quite a few gap ups here. I'm going to bring it back to these lows, March 13 lows. There you go. That's kind of interesting, huh? Right at the POC from the March 13 lows. Here's your VWAP. Huge volume gap below. Really want to see them hold here. This is kind of like a really important spot. Otherwise, there's a lot of thin air below. What's IWM looking like? I'm going to pop over to the March 24 lows here. And I'm choosing these based off of just them being the most pivotal low. You know, this is the lowest low of this whole range. So that's why I'm keeping an eye on it. And we can see totally different picture here on IWM, right? Price above those two areas, the VWAP and the POC from those lows. What we might want to do is we might want to pull it out to some near-term highs. And we see a very similar picture, really. Price above VWAP and POC from those highs. Let's go back a little bit farther. What is this? This is the Feb 2 high. And you can see that VWAP from the Feb 2 high. Currently putting a lid on things with those previous highs coming right into it here and here. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing if they're able to get up and over it. That seems pretty important, that 180 spot. My guess, you've got a bunch of earnings tomorrow. Let's actually see. I'm going to scan for some earnings dates within the next 2 days. And then let's search maybe the S&P 500 and see what we've got. So yeah, so this is what I was going to point to. You've got JP Morgan earnings here in what? I think it's tomorrow. Yeah. You've got, oh no, this is the 14th. What day is what day is today? Okay, so today's the 13th. Ah, I see. I don't have extended hours turned on. That's my bad. So yeah, JP Morgan earnings tomorrow. PNC. Now this is interesting. Yesterday, if you listen to that space, yesterday there is a period where we're talking about PNC, and specifically Steven Straza. He's talking about it, and he said PNC was actually a really important one to watch because their lending book is quite bigger than a lot of other banks. He said that scrutiny would be on this particular bank maybe more so than a lot of other ones for that reason. If there are more things to come with the banking sector, this is going to be potentially a name that you want to have an eye on. And right now, man, that setup is not looking very pretty, is it? You almost wonder, though. I just want to see if they're building. So they are building a little strength. There is a little bit of divergence here under the hood. You could see as they're making new lows. Made new lows in price, but they made higher lows in RSI, and that RSI is still holding in there. Yeah, interesting. It looks like they're setting this up to look bad, but this could be an accumulation pattern. So it'll certainly be one to watch. I'll have my eyes on that. You've got Citigroup has earnings tomorrow. Wells Fargo has earnings tomorrow, and BlackRock has earnings tomorrow. All super important bank sector stocks. And like JC from All Star Charts says, I don't know if you guys, if y'all follow him, but he is a regular on our Twitter Space shows. Great guy, smart guy. And he says you cannot have a bull market without financials participating. So let's take a look at what's going on over in financial land. And this is what everybody's pointing to. This is kind of what's key here. You've got 2007 highs. You've got 2018 highs. You've got 2020 highs. And you got price coming right back into them. Back in Q3 of last year. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to the monthly so we can see a little bit cleaner. This is a key spot. It's $30 spot. Or 30.50, whatever. Somewhere in here. This is really, really important. Financials, according to JC, financials absolutely have to hold the line here in order for a bull market to commence and continue. So we're going to know a lot more probably tomorrow with those bank earnings, what they end up doing, and how the market responds. This one's important. If we go to actually IWM, it's kind of a similar story. IWM has a lot of financials in it, regionals, and it's kind of a similar story. 2018 highs coming in, acting as support for the past almost a year. Are they going to be able to hold this? This Friday is an important piece. What's up, Tlaylock? How's it going, man? Right now, we are looking at IWM. We're talking about bank earnings. We got bank earnings tomorrow. JPM, Bank of America, BlackRock, Citigroup, and some others all reporting tomorrow. And with XLF and IWM at such key spots, kind of thinking that tomorrow's going to be a big day for the markets. We could be wrong. You know, there's certainly the chance that a lot of this fear is priced in. Are you? You're bearish? I'm going to pop back over to NQ real quick and just kind of see what's going on there. We got about, 12 minutes or so till the market opens here. Just kind of want to see what's going on the small time frames. On banks earnings, yeah, I think a lot of people are pretty bearish on banks earnings, but the question is how much of it's baked in already? That was kind of my big question for the gang yesterday when we were talking about banks. We didn't spend a ton of time talking banks, but if you scroll up to Laylock, I linked a tweet that has a link to the space that we had yesterday, and there's some really good. There's just these guys are so smart. I have to admit, I feel like a big dummy in the room when I'm talking to all these smart folks, but it's really cool to get to pick their brains and kind of see where their heads are at, get their opinion on what's going on out there. So you don't think terrible earnings are priced in? We are finna find out, I believe. So a little bit of a broadening range kind of thing going on here on NQ, at least on the 15-minute on these small time frames. If they end up seeing it to completion, then you can kind of expect they're going to come down here as well. I've been starting to get into trading these broadening ranges. I know all of our strat folks are have been screaming from the rooftop about them for some time, but I've been starting to notice them a lot and keep my eye on them. It's a pretty clean example. Tlaylock, what are you trading today? Oh, hey, while I got you guys, if you could please hook me up with a like and a subscribe to the channel, I would be more than appreciative. All those likes and subscribes actually do go a long way. I feel kind of weird shilling likes and subscribes, but if y'all could hook me up with a few of those, that would be awesome. If you're not already a subscriber, I would be stoked on it. So thank you for that. I've also got you guys, if you need it, anybody who's not yet a TrendSpider user, I have a 35% discount coupon I can hook you guys up with. We offer 7. I appreciate that, Tammy. You're very, very sweet. Good morning. How are you doing today, dear? Are you well? I hope so. Yeah, 35% off the TrendSpider plan of your choice. 7-day free trials. So, you know, why not give it a go? You got nothing to lose. I'm hooking it up. I got you. Always going to take care of you guys as best as I can anyway. Thank you for the extra likes. I appreciate it. Tammy, how did you do yesterday? Did you trade yesterday? And if so, what were you trading? Oh, nice. All right, you got 50% off. Sweet. Well, you're hooked up better than I can hook you up. Those 50%ers, they don't come around super often. But I can pretty much always hook y'all up with a 35. So even if you can't do it right now or you're not interested in signing up for a plan right now, you're always welcome to hit me up anytime. I can hook you up. My Twitter handle is in the bottom panel here, at Krutzky Trades. Feel free to shoot me a follow. And really, truly, like, I'm an open book. Anytime you guys need anything, if you have any questions about the platform, anything like that, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. My DMs stay open. Hyro. Can you make money today with $1,000? You've never done it before. Man, of course you can. But you could also lose money today with $1,000. Awesome. Why not? Yeah, go for it, man. Feel free. Anytime you got questions about TrendSpider, I mean, I'm live generally Tuesdays and Thursdays around 9 p.m. Eastern time for about an hour. We also, let me show you guys real quick, down here in the bottom right-hand corner where it says contact us. This is where I lived for like 2 years. I used to be on the success support team. These guys are real people, and they actually are hanging out in chat every single day, Monday through Friday, about 20 hours per day, Saturday and Sunday, about 8 hours per day. So there's almost always someone around who can answer a question. And you can really be kind of as thorough with your questions as you want if you need help scripting a strategy or need help understanding how to utilize a tool on the platform, whatever it may be, whatever questions you can have or you might have, you are always welcome to reach out to us here in chat too. These guys are hanging out every day, answering those questions as they come in. So know that this is available to you. GFAI. Let's see, Tammy. Let's take a look at GFAI. Guard force. That's an interesting looking chart. What is this? What are my favorite indicators? That's a great question. So, favorite indicators, I'm a price action guy. So, my favorite indicators are going to be stuff related to price action. I really, when it comes to like scanning for price action conditions that I might be interested in, I really like zigzag. Let me show you guys zigzag. I was kind of demoing it yesterday. Let me turn it on. Oh, weird. So this is zigzag. And what zigzag does is it tunes out a lot of noise and just plots important trend reversals. So pivot highs to pivot lows to pivot highs, right? You may be able to see that very easily. A lot of traders can see these things very easily, but if you have trouble identifying where the important pivots are, it's a great way of seeing them without having to think too much about it. The other piece that I really like about this indicator is that you can have levels on it too. So this isn't the greatest chart to be looking at. Let me go to just like something a little bit larger cap. So this is a really good example. Let me remove this guy. So you see how each pivot for the past 5 pivots. So here's pivot A. You can kind of see the A there. It's there. I've been trying to get the dev team to like change the color of these so we could see it better. It's really kind of built for a white chart. But you have pivot A, pivot B, pivot C, pivot D, and pivot E, right? So you can look back 5 pivots and you can define these 5 pivots within the scanner if you wanted to. So you could like define where price is relative to pivot E. You could define where pivot E is relative to C and so on. You can very easily define uptrends, downtrends this way. And you can define price relative to those pivots, which as a price action guide, this is really, really helpful for me because generally speaking, I don't want to have to go hunting for these setups. For example, let's just say this isn't the best example because I would like to see A above C here. But if you have A above C, C above E, and then you have B above D, like B is greater than D, you're in a positive uptrend, right? You're making new highs and higher lows. And so if that's what's going on, then what you're looking for, at least what I'm looking for, is I'm looking for price to be back near B. And I'm looking for it to hold because this is kind of like my safest entry for a long opportunity pending A has taken out C, right? If we have a new high, then when we come back into the previous low, we're looking for it to hold. And so as a price action trader, what I'm kind of looking for is that, and I can define that within the scanner. I'll show you. I'll actually share it with you. So price and M trend with zigzag. So A is greater than C, C is greater than E, B is greater than D, B is greater than A, and then a couple of kind of filtering mechanics. Price close greater than $5, volumes greater than, I believe this is 500,000. So we can run this scan and we can find everything that's meeting this criteria. So you can find price within an uptrend. Let me see what this uptrend pullback is. I don't think this is with ZZ. Yeah, so this is a relatively decent example, right? You have a new pivot here. It's a little bit different, but if you're just looking for these basic things when it comes to price action, lots of people define trend in lots of different ways. You can define it with moving averages. You can define it all kinds of ways. But I like to use price. And for what I do, this is kind of the best tool the best indicator that that I've found to use for it. As far as other indicators that I really like, if you guys want, I can share this with you. Let me do that if you want it. I'm going to get to your questions, Tlaylock. As far as other indicators, again, because I'm a price action guy, my big focus generally is going to be RSI. You know, I'm using RSI to help me kind of snipe tops and bottoms. If I have some sort of alignment, you know, price is making a new high relative to a previous high, and I've got some divergence in RSI. Maybe we're getting a new high in price, but we're not getting a new high in RSI. I'm going to use RSI as to help me identify divergences. VWAP, just your daily VWAP. Intraday, 5-minute time frame, 15-minute time frame, just your standard VWAP is always going to be helpful for me just to determine kind of are we trading above it or below it. And then anchored VWAP, big one as well for me. Oh no, all of your messages got deleted. What happened? You posted too many messages. I need to fix Nightbot, and I apologize, Tlaylock, because everything you just asked went away. Oh, well, hold on. Here we go. I can view it all. I'm going to view it all. Hold on. Let me see. Looks like you use VRVP. What's VRVP? Markets are open here. And we are moving off of these lows. I'm going to go back to NQ real quick because of this. Because we're right at the anchored VWAP from the move. Let me turn off some things so we can kind of see it a little bit better. Yeah. So you got the low of the move and the anchored VWAP from the move. Pretty big spot. And a nice little reaction there. Whether or not they'll actually break through this or this will act as resistance, hard to know for sure, but a nice little quick reaction off of that. But it was quick. Tlaylock, I don't think that you're spamming, even though Nightbot says that you're spamming. But do tell me what VRVP is, because I'm not sure what that is. Oh, Tammy, it's an AI stock. GFAI is AI. That makes sense, GFAI. Give me 1 second, guys. Just responding to a coworker real quick. Oh, the bomb. I have these funny graphics, and they're preset whenever I hit Shift 1, so exclamation point. Oh, it's not going to do it now. Of course it's not going to do it now. There it is. Okay. So I've got this bomb, and I've got this target. And I love them so much, and I forget to use them all the time. I need to use them more often because I have them, and I should use them. Tlaylock, did they just completely kill your ability to write anything in chat? I'll look at those Nightbot settings here when I get off the stream. You're looking, oh, I just seen this. You're looking for shorts on coin. That's an interesting play. Even with, talk to me about your thesis there. Because you've got crypto just ripping. ETH trading into 2,000 this morning. BTC, what's Bitcoin doing today? 30,200. I mean, it's holding strong up here above 2029, which was the big level that we had our eyes on. What's Doge doing today? Bit of a move. What's Sol doing? Probably moving. 25 bucks. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Coinbase seems like a tricky short with crypto ripping. But essentially trendless, isn't it? There's not much there to really look at. This thing is just ranging. Has been for almost a year. Wow, they are grinding NQ higher, aren't they? I guess we could look at QQQ as well. If there's anything that you guys want to watch, please do let me know. So this is important. Look, this is what I'm talking about with trend, right? So you've got a low, and then we took out that low. We made a new low. So the high that this low brought us to, that we just lost, you would anticipate somewhere up here is gonna, price is going to get rejected somewhere up here. You could look here, because this is the candle with the actual high, and they came right into it and rejected it. So then we would go here and look, and perfect rejection there too. So this is going to be pretty important. I think this 315.5, probably a pretty important spot on the Qs for the day. If they can get up and over it, then that might mean that they're going for somewhere up here. 316, 316.70, something like that. But we would anticipate this, at least initially, we would anticipate this to fail because they did make a new low. So now we watch. If you took a short there, that's a great spot to take a short, to give it a try. Keep your stops tight, of course. You know, I don't know what the deal is with Nightbot. I think that maybe the settings are a little too tight and I need to go in and fix them. Steve, lovely question, friend. Does it plot trend lines? Absolutely it does. Oh, look at them. They gained it. Or they're trying to anyway. So does it plot trend lines? 100%. Auto trends. The thing about auto trends that you have to keep in mind, very, very important. Auto trends do not update automatically. So this is a good example. Auto trends are built off of what we call the truth and analysis timestamp. When you turn on auto trends, you're going to see this vertical dashed line somewhere on your chart. And if you hover over this little, it's kind of hard to see, but this little, I don't know, this little highlight rectangle thing. If you highlight over, it says truth and analysis timestamp. And it gives you a date. It says March, in this particular case, is March 2nd, 2023 at 7:41. So these trend lines were drawn on this date at this time, and it has not been updated yet. And the reason why it's not updated, the reason why it's stuck back here in the past is because what if I took a trade based off of one of these lines? This is the idea. If I took a trade based off of one of these lines and I'm still in that trade, well, I want this line to stay on the chart. The line can stay on the chart the line will not stay on the chart automatically if you update. So you could double click a line to lock it, and then it'll stay on the chart for you. But if you want to update the truth and analysis timestamp, you have to hit this refresh button. And there are a number of tools that work off of this too. So if I turn on fibs, see where it's drawing a fib? It's drawing a fib at a really weird spot, but it's drawing it based off of that truth and analysis timestamp. Also, heat maps. Heat maps are built off of the TIA as well. So all of that to say, if you want the most up-to-date auto trends, auto fibs, heat maps, you have to refresh the timestamp. And to do that, you just hit the refresh button here. You only see this when you have a tool on that utilizes truth and analysis timestamp. So I'm going to refresh it, and now it pushes that timestamp to the current candle, and it shows me current trend lines based off of the most up-to-date price action. So do not forget that. And also, it's important to know that each ticker is unique. So the Qs were where they were, right? If I go to something I've not looked at in a while, I don't know, CGC, that's not something I've looked at in a while. Let me go to a daily here. And I hover over that same line. This is locked to February 10th at 1441, so 241. Right, totally different date and time. So refresh it. It gives me the most up-to-date analysis, but it is unique per ticker. So as you shuffle through tickers, if you want to utilize these tools, just make sure, if you want the most up-to-date analysis, that you're refreshing. And when you go to smaller time frames, let's see, I don't know. I guess I got weed on my mind right now. When you go to smaller time frames, it is in live mode. Trend analysis is in live mode on these smaller time frames. So it is always going to be up to date. But if you go to a bigger time frame, it's going to be locked to wherever the last time you updated it. In this case, July 11th of last year. So been a while. Anyway, so there's your trend lines. Some folks, different folks have different opinions about trend lines. But one thing to keep in mind here is that most of the time, these trend lines are going to have some sort of pitch to them. They're not going to be straight across like levels. And that's because price action tends not to move in a straight line. You can adjust certain things about the auto trends. You can adjust the analysis type, original, enhanced, and standard. Original tends to look further back in time. Standard tends to look closer in time. Enhanced is kind of a mix of both. You could choose to draw these things from wicks or from bodies. It's up to you. There isn't a right or a wrong way there. It's really about what makes sense for your analysis. You can choose to respect or ignore gaps in the chart. I usually will ignore them for a chart that's very gappy. I will respect them for a chart that is not. So maybe bigger time frames I'll generally respect. Smaller time frames I'll generally ignore. And then, of course, there's quality, most relevant, more lines, all unfiltered. All unfiltered is insanity. I don't recommend having this on your chart really ever. Really kind of the point of this is so that you can just see how many lines we're actually drawing. It's drawing usually thousands of lines in the background, and then it's picking from the most powerful ones, so the ones that have the most touches and that sort of thing. But getting back to the idea of horizontal levels, if you're looking specifically for horizontal levels, that zigzag indicator that I mentioned earlier, that's a great one. And then also the heat maps, and specifically the heat maps in horizontal mode. The way that I like to utilize them, I prefer the heat maps in horizontal, and what they're doing is they're looking for places where price has opened or closed kind of at the same spot in multiple times. So you can kind of see where price has a tendency to find support resistance is where it's going to highlight these levels. So another decent tool that you can use. Another thing to note about heat maps here is that they, over time, they're going to like lose their power, or they have the potential to lose their power. Places that were important pivots historically don't necessarily have to be important pivots in the future. But they certainly can be. As time goes on, the color of the heat map fades, and that fade is meant to suggest that over time, these areas might have less effect on price. So the brighter, the bolder the red, the more powerful that area may be. The duller the red, the less powerful that area may be. But still decent to know where these levels are. I like to use this in tandem with other things. So like a big anchored VWAP off of an anchored VWAP off of an important spot, maybe these highs here. If this aligns with a certain area, a certain heat map area, then I might give it a little bit more credence. It's just like you would do any indicator. If you're utilizing multiple indicators, you're usually looking for all those indicators flashing similar signals to give you, additional confidence in a spot acting as support or resistance. That's the idea here. At least that's how I look at it. Slaylock, I do not know what VRVP is. So tell me what VRVP is. Yeah, Steve. No problem at all, man. And there's a couple of different analysis types on the heat map too. To me, though, these horizontal levels, because I'm a price action guy, these horizontal levels are just kind of what makes sense to me. But there's this. I'm going to go to a name that's a little bit, has a little bit more going on. Ooh, NVDA breaking down. That's interesting. But what this does is this uses a couple of different types of analysis to show you the path of least resistance. So again, the same idea. Wherever there's red could be some support or resistance. Wherever there's black, it's kind of there's nothing there to support or resist. So the black area is the path of least resistance. The brighter, the bolder the red, the more powerful an area may be. The duller the red, the less powerful it may be. So we've got a little bit of potential support down here around 260. And then, of course, as you go lower, that red kind of brightens up. Same would be true above. You've got some resistance starting around 275 and a quarter or so. And then you've got trends. And remember, I showed you guys that unfiltered view, the insane view of all those trend lines. This is that view with the heat maps. So sometimes you'll see things in here that are, a little bit different as well. If you have a lot of trend lines all kind of going in the same direction, overlapping, intersecting, what have you, you get brighter, bolder areas of red. Generally, those brighter, bolder areas of red tend to act as support resistance. So you've got a kind of a brighter area of red here. You would kind of anticipate some potential support right here. But again, for me, my favorite one is horizontal. To each their own. Use what makes sense for you. There are no rules. If it works, it works. Slaylock. VRVP. What is it? Tell me what this is, because I do not know. Taylock, did you leave? Where are you, man? Volume profile, visible range per Google search. What is that? Oh, that's what VPVR is. Or VRVP. Is that visible range volume profile? I certainly do use a volume profile from time to time. We have a couple of different tools that achieve that. So we have the drawing tool, the volume by price drawing tool. And one thing that I like about this is that I can sequester sections of the chart. So for example, like from this high to low, I can quickly just see the volume profile of this section. When you use the standard volume by price, it is going to measure from wherever you're measured from and looking forward. So it's going to take into account all of the data. If you just want to sequester a section though, this is the way to do it. And I kind of like doing it that way personally. But, you know, different strokes, different folks, right? There is volume profile. It's called volume by price. I'm going to turn off everything else real quick, just so we could just look at this. In volume by price, you have this VBP start line, this vertical dashed line here. And you can, when you hover over where it says VBP start, notice how my cursor switches to a double arrow. I can click and I can drag this and move it around. So let's say I want to move it to these highs. Oh, where did it go? There it is. So you can move this to wherever you want. Put it, I would anchor it, so essentially anchored, right? And I would anchor this just to, again, just like I do with my anchored VWAPs and what have you. You're going to anchor to an important candle per the time frame that you're trading. You know, this gap up seems kind of important. Maybe that's the thing I want to keep my eye on. Maybe a relative high or maybe a relative low. You know, it's different for every ticker. There's not a right or a wrong way, but to me, put it where it makes sense for your time frame for your trade. If you are looking for long bias trades, then you're going to want to anchor to something lower, right? Because you're looking for pullbacks to a spot that should hold or that could hold. You'd invert that for short bias trades. You want to anchor from somewhere higher, looking for a spot that might reject. This isn't the greatest example ever, but you kind of get the idea. And on the right-hand side, obviously, these are, well, let me go back. This is your volume at price from every single price level from where you're measuring from. So wherever you measure from, let's say these lows. This is how much volume has occurred at each individual price level. You've got your VWAP. This is essentially an anchored VWAP from the lows. If I right click on the candle, say anchored VWAP, notice how it brings me right to it. And then your POC is your point of control. All right, Steve, great to chat with you. Steve, real quick, are you a TrendSpider user or are you not yet a user? If you are not yet a user, there is a link to a discount code above. Let me get it for you real quick. One more. If you're not a TrendSpider user, but you want to give it a go, 35% off link right here. This is good on any account, monthly or yearly, and 7-day free trials. So, you know, if you were going to give it a go, this is a decent opportunity to give it a go, risk-free, and at a discount. So thank you so much for tuning in, Steve. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. You're very welcome, sir. I'm going to pop back into NQ real quick. I've got a secondary chart over here on my side, and I'm just wanting to kind of highlight what they're doing here. They're consolidating above the VWAP from the move, but actually, did we do this on the Q? It's that same idea though, remember what I was saying earlier? The spot, they're trying to fail it. If we go down to a 5 minute, we might be able to even see it better. Or rather a 1 minute. Yeah, so here's your high. Right there. Pretty interesting. We'll see what they do. Not a bad idea if you're trading this today. Anchor VWAP from the gap up. Why is it doing that? Big level. I mean, this is just a VWAP, right? This is just your daily intraday VWAP, but this is the anchored version. Guys, we are coming up on time here. Does anybody have any last minute questions before I gotta jump? I want to make sure that we get to everything if we have anything. I appreciate all the likes. For those who are here, if you are enjoying the live stream, please do give me a like and a subscribe. Helps me a ton. And thank you in advance for doing that. Looks like they're trying for it. Going once, going twice. Last minute questions. Going 3 times. Going 4 times. I know that there's a bit of a lag between what I'm saying and what you guys are seeing, so. I want to give the opportunity, if you've got any questions, last minute or otherwise. I'm happy to spend as much time as necessary, but if you guys don't have any questions, I do have more work to do today. So I'm going to get to that if you guys got nothing else. Feels like you guys got nothing else. Rob, what's up, man? Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Looks like y'all are tuning out. So I'm going to tune out myself. It was great to be here with you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Tomorrow, do not forget tomorrow, bank earnings. Important day out there. David, RSI on what time frame? Well, it depends on whatever time frame you're trading. Generally speaking, like I said, I'm looking at RSI in terms of what's going, like I'm looking for divergences. So if price is making new highs into an area where I think it should reject, then I'm going to be looking for RSI to be cooling off into those new highs. So divergence, right? Negative divergence. If price is making new lows into an area that I think should provide some support, then I'm going to be looking for RSI to be increasing on those new lows. So RSI making higher lows with price making lower lows. And generally speaking, I'm using 15-minute time frames for my big levels for the spots that I think are really important. And then I'm going down to like a 5 minute to look for those divergences. You can look for them on the 1 minute. 1 minute's just tough, man. Things change so quickly on these small time frames. So you have to be a little bit more careful there. But that's kind of how I use it. So I mean, like I say, you can do that sort of analysis on any time frame, though. It really is just about how long you want to be in a trade for, I think, is the key. If you want to be in a trade for 5 minutes, you probably want to know what's going on the bigger time frames, but it's not as relevant for you as a quite smaller time frame. So up to you there, David. I'm sorry I can't be more clear, but without knowing more about how long you like being in trades and the types of trades you're taking, it's difficult to make suggestion there. I think it's just like, consider your time frame, consider how long you want to be holding. And you can also always test, you can always utilize the strategy tester to see how a stock tends to act on a particular time frame when RSI is at a particular level. Does that help at all, David? I don't know if that helps you at all, but hopefully it helps a little bit. If we need to dig in a little deeper, I'm happy to. Just let me know. Okay, cool. Right on. Well, yeah, like I said, if you have any further questions, do let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them anytime. Give me a follow on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at the bottom of this little bar here, at Krutzky Trades. And anytime you have any questions about anything, you're welcome to hit me up. My DMs are open. I'm happy to assist you however I can. So know that that's available to you guys. And like I said earlier in the stream, this contact us button is a direct feed into our employee chat room. So if you ever have any questions about the platform, about how to build this or that, how to use this or that, you can always ask these guys in here too. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to jump on out of here. Like I said, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys this morning. Bank earnings tomorrow. Very important day in earnings land. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for those bank earnings. And we will see you all again next Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, right here. I will be back. So yeah, I look forward to it. Have a great rest of your day. Trade them well. Have a good rest of your week. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you soon.